Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another bonus episode of Terror Radio Podcast. If this is your first time joining me, then welcome. This is a podcast dedicated in bringing you the best of horror and thriller, old-time radio broadcasts, as well as original stories. I'm your host, Keith, aka the Radio Show Nerd, and want to thank you all for the feedback I received from the last episode, which was a combination of the one and done and the lesser known. Everyone seemed to really enjoy the selections, so thank you. The title of the episode tonight is Who's There? Because our protagonists of the radio plays tonight find themselves wondering that throughout the stories. So, without further ado, this is Terror Radio. The two radio programs highlighted tonight are Quiet Please and Beyond Midnight. The radio play featured from Quiet Please is Clarissa, and this was the story that introduced me to Quiet Please, and it was first broadcasted on April 19th, 1948. It was written by Willis Cooper and stars Ernest Chappell. The radio play featured on Beyond Midnight is entitled The Room, and this is an adaptation of the H.G. Wells short story The Red Room, which was published in March of 1896. This adaptation was first broadcasted in 1968. So, you know the drill. Sit back, turn down the lights, and listen to Clarissa, followed by The Room.
Quiet, please. The Mutual Broadcasting System presents Quiet Please, which is written and directed by Willis Cooper and which features Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please for tonight is called Clarissa. No, he was dead before the fire started. I've told you that a dozen times. No, I can't prove it, of course not. You'll just have to believe me. Take my word for it. I can't prove he was dead. You can't prove he wasn't. And anyway, what difference does it make? Now, I'm sorry. I can't hear you very well. Yes. Well, all right. It was an old black shell of a house. A house that has lived too long. A house where the floors groaned in pain at night, where the windows shuddered at the gentlest touch of the wind, where door latches suddenly gave up their grip and let the night come sniffing into the house to paw at your eyes and wake you to the other silences that lay around you. It was never warm there. In the winter, old Heinz kept a fire going in the fireplace in the old sitting room, but the logs were scrawny and the draft was bad, and the flames seemed to grudge us their warmth, so that we shivered all through the day. We're glad when night came and we could escape to the meager comfort of the drafty bedrooms. And in the summer, there was a dampness about the place. An unhealthy clamminess drifted from the walls and stirred uneasily among the ancient smells of decay that clung to the place. Well, I suppose you could call old Heinz a character. You said you didn't know him? An immigrant from the Rhineland. around sometime in the early 70s. That would make him, let me see, how old?
Ich war im Rheinland geboren. In der Jahrzeit 1862.
That's right, 1862. He was an old man, but he never appeared old. You might have taken him for a vigorous man of 60. His hair and his scraggly mustache were jet black. I suspect he dyed them regularly. And his blue eyes seemed as keen as those of a boy of 18. And he'd never been away from the house for a single night, he used to say, from the day he bought it and moved into it in 1888. And it was an old house then. Yes, I spent some very dreary days and nights in that house. What? I couldn't afford a better place to live. No, people don't go to live in a haunted house if they can find another place, you know. Oh, yes, of course, I'd heard it was haunted before I went there to live. Do you believe in haunted houses? No, neither did I, of course. Well, I agree, it did look like a haunted house. I've told you about the sounds in the night. I've told you about some of the sounds in the night. Yes, of course, there were other sounds. Well, please, let me tell it my own way. Well, Clarissa, for instance. Clarissa in particular. Clarissa above everything else. I had lived there nearly a year. Heinz and I sat that first night alongside the fireplace. I remember he'd asked me to share a bottle of Ben Custer Doctor with him. We sat in front of the stingy little fire. And there was a kerosene lamp on the table, and Heinz in his old black coat with the sleeves that were too short.
You like the wine then, Jesse?
Yeah, very much. Very much.
I have not much left. This is from before the war when it was easier to get, you see. But now, well, it is almost very last.
You shouldn't be so generous with it, Heinz.
Oh, no. Good wine always schmeckt besser. Wenn with a friend you drink it, nicht wahr? A little more?
Not for a moment, thanks.
Yes, to sit by the fire and look down into the coals and see images of the things past. And drink wine and see the images grow clearer. It is good in the old age.
You've lived here alone for a long time?
Yeah, for a long time. Long time. I'm used to it. Used to the nights and the little fire and the silences.
Yes.
It is cold for this time of the year.
Listen.
What's the rose?
Oh, I thought I heard someone singing.
So?
Did you hear anything?
It is Clarissa.
What did you say?
Clarissa, my daughter.
Well, I didn't know you had a daughter, Heinz.
Yes. Is there more wine?
No, thanks. I haven't seen her around.
No.
Well, is she... Excuse me, Heinz.
You will forgive me, Jesse. She's a child. I do not wish you to be bothered.
Why, she wouldn't bother me, Heinz. I like children.
There's enough left here in the bottle for one more for each of us, huh?
Thank you, Heinz.
Yes? Schlaf wohl.
And I drank the last of the wine with the old man. And then I climbed the creaking stairs to the dreary little room, carrying the kerosene lamp in one hand and casting fabulous shadows on the peeling wallpaper. Seeing the ancient plush-covered rocking chair nodding away at me as I entered the room. As if a startled occupant had suddenly deserted it at the sound of my footsteps on the stairs. And the cold spring rain drenching the window panes. And the murmured complaints of the beams and rafters of the old house. The pleasant, musty fumes of the wine I had drunk kept sleep away for a while when I blown out the lamp. melody of that children's song flowed again across my mind as I lay there. My thoughts wandered to the lonely child that dwelt in the haunted house with the old man and the newcomer student. I smiled to myself as I thought, now that settles the question of the house being haunted, doesn't it? People have heard the little girl singing to herself in the night. They've not known that a little girl lived here, too. And, well, that's the ghost. And I smiled again at superstitions. And another idle thought struck me. I wondered at the child's age. 10 or 12 years old by the sound of her voice. And somewhere in the back of my drowsy mind, I seem to remember that Heinz had told me Helena, his wife, had died. When was it the year of the San Francisco earthquake? Well, that would be 1906. That would be 42 years ago. And this was a child of 10 or 12. I must have been mistaken. I was getting sleepy. The wine, the rain, the dark. Well, you wanted the whole story. I'm telling it to you. In the morning, Heinz was working in his garden, and the early sun made the old house seem a little more cheerful, a little more livable. There was a tinge of green through the gray of the fields that surround the house, and Heinz told me he'd seen a robin. I stood and watched him a long time, and I don't think he noticed how my eyes wandered to the windows of the old house, searching for a flash of color that might be a child's hair ribbon, or how I listened for the sound of a young voice singing a little song the children who danced so long ago on the bridges of Avignon. I didn't even notice that I was humming a song under my breath.
Clarissa's song, eh?
What? Oh.
Well, that's Clarissa's song.
That kid used to sing it when I was young.
Yeah, my wife is French. She taught the song to Clarissa.
Oh?
Yeah, it is an old song.
How old is your daughter, Heinz?
Eh?
How old?
Oh, she's young.
Is she pretty?
Oh, yeah. Your breakfast?
Coffee. I found it on the stove.
Clarissa made it.
Oh, did she?
You'd better go to work now, huh?
Yes, I suppose so. You don't need to keep the little girl outside on my account, Heinz. I like children.
Oh, she bother you.
Oh, no, I've got a little sister back home.
Oh, yeah?
Miriam. She's 11.
Clarissa is older.
Oh? Miriam's got bright yellow hair.
Clarissa has dark hair.
Yeah, I got a picture of her here.
Oh, so? Oh, she's very pretty. I have no picture of Clarissa.
No, that's too bad.
I'll see you tonight, huh?
Yes? Yeah, sure, Heinz. I should have let the thing drop then and there. If the old man felt that children should be kept away from adults, that was his privilege, of course. And although I was often lonely for other company than the old man, I was a dweller in his house, and naturally subject to his wishes. My work? No, I never left the place. My book? Oh, I was writing a book. No, not very exciting. Mathematics. I have some theories. No, the book is gone. The fire, you remember? I could understand Heinz. I thought he obviously had a great respect for a man's work, especially a work of such apparent erudition. I must not be disturbed. I might stay in my room day and night with my slide rules and my profile paper and my broken flower pot full of sharpened pencils. I was not to be disturbed. But how many times I wished for the happy sound of my little sister Miriam's gay laughter. Found myself listening for the lilt of the little girl's song that she used to sing, and that Clarissa knew, too. Heinz mentioned Clarissa occasionally.
I sometimes wish that I could have sent Clarissa to school, Jesse.
Well, it's too bad you didn't.
Always there was never enough money.
Why, there are schools. Public schools, Heinz.
No, Not for Clarissa's free schools.
You know, I wonder.
Wonder?
Well, children are supposed to go to school. I'm surprised that the school authorities haven't been to see about sending her.
The police?
Oh, no, not the police. But there are laws about schools. I mean, you might find yourself in trouble if they discover you have a daughter of school age.
They will come here.
Well, if they find out.
Jesse, you will not tell.
Now, look here, Heinz. You're not being fair to the child.
Yes.
No, really, I mean it. Hasn't she ever been to school?
Well, I teach her a little.
Well, Heinz, it's none of my business. But you're doing her a very serious harm.
No, listen, Jesse. You don't tell anybody about her.
Well, I don't know, Heinz. If they come and ask me...
Jesse, listen. I tell you something.
Well?
Clarissa can't go to school.
Well, why not? I told you it doesn't cost anything.
It is not that.
Well, then?
She's not well.
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, Heinz. Look, would you like it if I gave her a little of my time and taught her some of the elementary...
No, please,
Oh,
don't.
I'd be glad to.
No.
Well, have it your way, Heinz. I don't mean to intrude on your affairs, but after all, a child...
I'm sorry, Jesse. I thank you, but no.
All right. Forget it. But I couldn't forget it. A kindly old man. Yes, he was kindly. And a sick child who had never seen the inside of a schoolroom, who was growing up to become, well, what? In an ancient, moldering house, a house that had lived too long, alone with a father born 86 years ago. Alone at night in the darkness with the house grumbling and complaining around me. I thought about the plight of the child. Sometimes I could hear her song far away somewhere in the dank recesses of that crumbling house. And my thoughts revolved again about this mystery. Heinz said she was not well. Heinz would not allow her to appear. Was Clarissa some misshapen monster child that she must be pent up and never see the sun? Was she... I detest mysteries of that kind. I love the good, clean mysteries of abscissa and ordinate, the logarithm and antilogarithm, of the calculus and the grand old theorems devised by the ancients. But the fascinating mysteries of the human mind and of human behavior are alien to me. Them I hate. And my thoughts crept further and further away from the 10 numbers as doubt and speculation about the child laid hold of my mind. The other night, how often I heard her sobs, I thought, sometimes close outside my door. And yet when I opened the door, there was nothing. And old Heinz grew more and more taciturn. He never spoke of his daughter. He seemed to avoid me by day and to disappear by night. But the summer came then, and the fall, and winter. My book was going badly, and my thoughts wandered. I must leave this place, I thought, or find out this mystery. And again I asked the old man if there was not something I might do for this pathetic child, this invisible, haunting voice.
No, Jesse. There is nothing you could do.
But Christmas is coming, Heinz. What can I get her for Christmas?
No, why not, Jesse?
What?
My Helene. She died on the eve of Christmas.
Well, but Heinz, you owe it to the child.
No. Let us not speak of it again.
But to me, the thought of Christmas passing by this child was unspeakable. I determined that if the old man would do nothing about it, I would. You know, I had little money, and there was so little I could do. But I did come into the town here, and I found a toy for her. I found one I could afford. A little woolly lamb. A little woolly white lamb with black buttons for eyes and a blue silk ribbon about its neck and a gay little blue Christmas Eve, Heinz and I shared the last bottle of Ben Costa Doctor before the miserly little fire. And I gave him one of the handkerchiefs my little sister Miriam had sent me, and he gave me an old stone Krug with a heavy pewter top that he said came from Heidelberg. And we regretted that there was no creamy Pilsner Urquell to drink from it. Wished each other a happy Christmas. And then, in the night, I was awakened by a tiny sound. And I lay awake silently for a moment. And there was another sound. A hesitant little footstep. And a rustling at the dresser across the room from me. And I lay quietly and listened. Is that you, Clarissa? Is that you, Clarissa? Do you like it? Good. Happy Christmas. I'm sorry, that's all I could get you. But I hope you like it. And I felt the touch of a tiny hand on my shoulder. And lips brushed my cheek. And the door closed. And the sound of her voice in the little song was happier now than I'd ever heard it. And so I knew at last that Clarissa was not a ghost, but a living person. And I felt more at peace with myself as I realized that this was what had been plucking at the corners of my mind. And I was happy now that I knew she really lived, but I was not living in the midst of fantasy. I had wondered what Heinz would say. He was perfectly natural about it.
It was good of you, Jesse.
Good? What?
To find a gift for Clarissa.
Oh, did you like it?
Ah.
Well, I'm glad.
She asked me to say Dankeschön to you.
Then I say, bitteschön.
It is good. You're a kind person, Jesse.
I wish it could have been more.
Oh, it is a very rich gift. Never has she had such a thing.
Is she going to have Christmas dinner with us, Heinz?
No.
So, I had won a little victory in this conflict with the darkness. But I was to go no further. I asked Heinz about her. Heinz answered shortly. I suggested that a birthday gift might be in order if I only knew her birthday. I proposed writing to her own sister and begging her for outworn storybooks that Clarissa might read, even if she must stay aloof from the rest of the house. Heinz did not reply. Everything was as it had always been, so long as the name of Clarissa was not mentioned. But when it came in the late spring, when it was cold and windy again, and the raw snow pelted against the windows and the whole house shivered, I heard her crying again in the night. And there was a quality in her voice this time that brought me out of the bed and into the hall. I called in alarm. Clarissa! I stepped back into my room and lit the kerosene lamp. And as I stepped out again toward the hallway, Heinz confronted me.
What's my hunting, Jesse?
Why, can't you hear her, Heinz? Something's wrong, she's sick.
No, go back by your room, Jesse.
Oh, but Heinz...
Don't beat me, Jesse. Go back.
Now, Heinz, listen to me. Something's awfully wrong with that child, and
I will take care of her, Jesse.
Please, Heinz.
In your room.
Now, see here,
I take care of my own, mein Herr. Heinz.
I reached for the door at once, but it was locked from the outside. And I beat on it and stormed at it in the cold. But for once it held. I screamed at the father, threatening every kind of vengeance on him, till at last I suddenly realized that I was being hysterically silly. In the silence, I could hear nothing but the moan of the wind around the rusty cornices of the house and the hiss of snowflakes against the window. And I sat down, shaken, bitter at myself for giving way to such an outburst over a child's crying in the night. And at last I lay down again, and in the frosty silence of the early dawn, I fell asleep. And when I awoke, hours later, and found my door unlocked again, Heinz was not to be found. Not that day, nor the next. I tramped through the house, opening doors, calling him, calling Clarissa. There was not a sound to answer me. I found a little wood and made a miserable fire. I suppose I ate. I don't remember any too well. And at night I went to bed to lie shivering for hours, straining my ears for a sound. The sound of a child's song. The sound of a father's footstep in the cold darkness. And it was morning, nearly morning. Gray fingers of morning plucking at the frost-rimed windows. And I awoke to see Heinz standing beside my bed. In the 2 days, he seemed to have aged 20 years. He was an old, old man. He spoke to me.
Jesse, my friend.
What's the matter, Heinz?
No much matter, Jesse. I am dying.
Heinz!
It is finished now, Jesse. Anders is vulnerable.
Here, sit down.
No. Hear me. See, the key to Clarissa's room. You take it.
Oh, is she all right? Heinz!
Too late for me now. Go. Clarissa's room. Do what is to be done.
I lifted him to the bed. I bent over him. I listened for his heart. There was no sound. Heinz was dead. Yes, just as I told you before, he died. He died there in my room, yes. What? Oh, yes. In the little half-light, I found a kerosene lamp and I lit it. I took the key from the floor where he dropped it. No. I found the room very easily. It was at the far end of the hall. I called. Clarissa? Clarissa? And there was no answer. So I unlocked the door. And holding the light above my head, I walked over to the bed. And there, lying on the bed, dressed in a pinafore that might have come out of the 10-year-old drawing in Alice in Wonderland, clutching a little woolly lamb to her breast, there lay a tiny, old woman with long white hair braided into pigtails. Clarissa. And I knew why I hadn't heard the little song for 2 days. And so when the lamp dropped out of my hand and the flames started licking around the dry as dust draperies and the fragile old oaken boards on the floor, I turned and went out of the house. Well, what else was there to do? The house had lived too long. And so had the father and daughter who dwelt there. And Heinz was played by Bruno Vick. Clarissa by Peggy Stanley. As usual, music for Quiet Please is by Albert Berman. Now a word from our writer-director, Willis Cooper.
The characters in tonight's Quiet Please are neither living nor dead. They enjoy neither of these interesting conditions because they're solely the invention of my own imagination, intended to represent nobody at all. Quiet Please for next week is called 13 and 8.
And so until next week at the same time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please comes to you from New York. This is the world's largest network, serving more than 450 radio stations, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
9:30. Do you like ice, Mr. Todd?
Ice? Thank you, Miss Watts. That'd be...
Mrs. Watts, Mr. Todd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. There. It gives me great pleasure to see a man drink whiskey, Mr. Todd. My late husband was partial to it.
Oh, well, lovely. Thank you, Mrs. Watts.
Do I look like a spinster?
No, not at all, no.
Well, you seem determined to make me one. I'm a widow. I have been one for 22 years.
Cheers. It's lovely whiskey.
Atlas whiskey, one of the first ever produced in Scotland. Not available in the general run of off licenses.
Well, I'm honored.
So, this is nice. So long since I've been able to offer my whiskey. I've had that bottle for nearly a quarter of a century. Poor Alfred was the last to drink from it. He died the next day.
Oh.
Shall we discuss the matter in hand?
Rather.
They began to discuss the matter in hand, and Ronald Todd, bachelor, aged 33, of Lansdowne Private Hotel, began his journey into the land that lies beyond midnight.
Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder, presents Beyond Midnight by Michael McCabe.
Just soak in Biotex. Just soak in Biotex. Just soak in Biotex.
If you have wondered how to get your washing really stain-free, understand this. Biotex removes the stains and dirt washing won't.
Just soak in Biotex.
Stains, grass stains, tiresome collar and cup stains, ingrained dirt, soil and grime. Out they all come, and you don't stir a finger.
Just soak in Biotex.
Biotex with natural enzymes is the pre-wash powder with the most enzymes to give you extra pre-wash power. Absolutely no rubbing, no color loss, no fabric wear. Use it for cottons, silks, woolens, synthetics. Use it to make new again. Soaking in Biotex removes the stains and dirt that washing won't.
Just soak in Biotex.
Yes, it has a sort of, strange, warm sort of glow. I've tasted many whiskeys.
You're a man of taste.
I hope so, Mrs. Watts. Hope so.
Are you willing to spend the night in the yellow room, Mr. Todd?
Mrs. Watts, can I just get one or two things straight? It's haunted?
Well, so they say.
Who say? So who says?
People.
And nobody's ever stayed there before for a night?
Oh, yes.
Oh. Then...
They stayed there. 3 stayed there. Do you remember the 6th Duke of Wallingford? Or was that before your time, Mr. Todd? You're only a young man.
The Duke of... Oh, yes. Yes, of course. There was a scandal, wasn't there? That the family bribed some famous psychiatrist or something to signify that the Duke was perfectly sane. I remember. And the Duke, was as mad as a hatter all the time.
Quite as mad as a hatter. But he was as sane a man as one could ever wish to meet, once upon a time. That was before he spent a night in the Yellow Room.
You mean the Duke?
The haunter and the haunted, every man's history of ghosts and ghosting, never beyond midnight. He wrote those books, Mr. Todd. The 6th Duke of Wallingford's passion was ghostly occurrences. He ate, drank, stretched, and dreamt of the spirit world and life on other than earthly planes. He was a ghost hunter.
And he came here, to you?
He came, poor soul, to me, and stayed here in this house in the North Wing in the Yellow Room. One night. 6.5 hours. And by morning light, he was mad. There were 1 or 2 others through the years. A certain Captain Bletchford of the 4th Hussars. He was found in the spinney, 90 feet below. He had leapt through the window. Help yourself to whiskey, Mr. Todd. There were others who stayed in the room but saw nothing, because, as I believe, they were not alone. It only happens, you see, to a person who is entirely alone.
What is it that happened?
Oh, my dear Mr. Todd, if I knew the answer to that question, I should not be offering £1,000 to any man who can provide me with an answer.
I see.
No one who has experienced the terror of the room has been exactly as they entered the night before, when they've been discovered in the morning.
Mrs. Watts, I do not believe in spirits, disembodied souls, life after death. I don't believe in hauntings, the powers of darkness, or the presence of evil. Except a certain something we call evil that inhabits the minds of certain men. I'm unimpressed by the trappings of modern psychological research. I have no superstition in me, and I'm also an atheist. I wasn't always. I was brought up a Christian. 20 years, more or less, of adult life have stolen my faith away. Today, I'm a completely uncommitted man, I'm afraid.
You're afraid?
A figure of speech. I'm not afraid. I will spend a night in the Yellow Room. For £1,000, I'd spend a night anywhere.
I see.
One thing, though, if nothing happens, I'll have nothing to tell you, will I?
In that case, you will receive £100 just for your trouble. Not an unreasonable fee for 8 hours' sleep, Mr. Todd.
No, but...
But I warn you, if nothing happens, don't invent. I shall know. And you will receive not a penny if you try to cheat me.
I'm an honorable man, I think.
Good. Well, having said
I wonder if you'd mind just telling me why you're so curious, Mrs. Watts. Why do you want to find...
I'm an old woman. I've lived a long and very wonderful life. Chancellor has been in my family for over 300 years. Soon I shall die. I wish to die without one regret. If I should be taken tomorrow, I would go to my grave a disappointed woman. I would not know what malevolence was present in the Yellow Room in Chancellor's North Wing. Oh, there's going to be a storm.
Why haven't you gone to the room? Spent a night there yourself, then?
I did not ask you to come here so that you could question me. You've come to earn, if you can, £1,000. For that, you have a job to do. After that job, I shall question you. That is all. Would Sunday suit you?
Yes, Sunday will suit me handsomely, thank you.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. I shall lock the door to the Yellow Room once you're inside and settled. It won't be opened again until 8 o'clock on Monday morning. That is a condition. It won't be opened no matter what might happen.
All right. You're the one paying the money.
Never reached the North Wing with their wires and switches. Oh, how often do I curse electricity. The days of candle and lamplight were so gracious. For a night at least, you in essence returned to those far-off days, Mr. Todd.
Well, it's not the fault of electricity that they've gone, you know. There have been more changes than the mere invention of electricity.
Father Doyle, don't skulk in the doorway and don't look so disapproving.
I'm not skulking. I'm still hoping to persuade Mr. Todd to change his mind. It's an unholy experiment you're indulging yourselves in.
Don't begin all that again, Father. He's free. He's over 21, isn't he? What on earth is there to harm him in here?
Nothing on earth. Mr. Todd, I've come tonight as an old friend of this lady, the friend of her husband. She asked me to be present. I don't know why, unless she wanted the church's sanction for what she plans to do.
I don't plan to do anything. Stop being an old maid, Father.
What neither of you seem to appreciate is the existence of evil.
Oh, Papa,
I've seen
of course
evil.
I know
how it works. Oh, yes, even in the 20th century. The devil's abroad at all times. Now, don't smile, Mr. Todd. I ask both of you, because I know the history of this place, to put a seal upon the door, to lock and bar this room.
Father, you seem to forget. Mrs. Watts and I have an agreement, a wager, if you like, for this one night. I don't know quite why you're here. I don't object to you, but I'd rather you didn't persuade Mrs. Watts to put seals on the door just yet. Tomorrow, all right, but there's a small question of 1,000 in cash first, and then you can do what the blazes you like. Well, shall we get on with it, Mrs. Watts? It's 10 o'clock, and I've promised myself a few chapters of Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited before a comfortable night's sleep in what seems to be a splendid antique bed.
And the sheets are aired and the pillows are soft as snow.
At least you won't even have the comfort of a window to jump from.
We had it barred, Mr. Todd, and anyway, it's far too high to reach.
Well, that's all right, Mrs. Watts. I haven't come down here to look at the view, have I? Now, lady and gentlemen, if you don't mind, this is my room for tonight, and according to Mrs. Watts here, the ghost does not walk unless the watcher is on his, Todd.
The room is high-beamed, the paper yellow in color, for this is the yellow room, is ancient. The design upon it is of some long-forgotten crest of some long-dead family. The shadows are deep. The light comes from 7 candles set about the room, one close by the great brass and oak bed, another on the mantel, above the head of the man who sits reading a novel, a very fine novel by Evelyn Waugh. Behind the reading man's head is another candle, and near his right elbow on the top shelf of a teak bookcase are 2 more candles. The 2 remaining, thin, brave lights in the darkness of the yellow room are on either side of the door. Absolute silence reigns. The silence of a tomb, or of a great desert when daylight appears to have deserted the world forever. Silence. The kind of silence that seems to hammer iron pegs into the mind. Silence. And then the man turns a page and yawns.
Bye-bye is time, I think.
He smiles a smile of satisfaction, in a moment spending the £1,000 on a multitude of wondrous things, and then, quite calmly, without any announcement, without any movement in the room, the candle directly behind Ronald Todd's head goes out.
I feel like a new man. It's a lovely day today.
I thought you had flu.
I took a Grandpa headache powder, and I'm worlds better.
When colds and flu are about, Grandpa headache powders are what you need.
Grandpa headache powders work fast because they dissolve almost immediately. Grandpa makes all those dreadful flu symptoms disappear quickly. So, whenever you're in pain, get fast relief. Get Grandpa headache powders.
Ah, Grandpa.
Just soak in Biotex.
Stains, grass stains, collar and cuff stains, ingrained dirt, soil and grime. Out they come and you don't stir a finger.
Just soak in Biotex.
Biotex with natural enzymes is the pre-wash powder with the most enzymes to give you extra pre-wash power. Absolutely no rubbing, no color loss, no fabric wear. Soaking in Biotex removes the stains and dirt that washing won't.
Just soak in Biotex.
Father?
Thank you.
Are you quite sure you aren't hungry?
Thank you. Anyway, I'd never sleep after just one mouthful of cheese.
Well, for heaven's sake, Father Doyle, there's a kitchen full of food out there.
I don't wish for one single bite to eat. All right? Fine, then. I think our friend upstairs should be told to go home now. After what he knows of the place, and believe it or not, he's no coward, and, he's been up there 2 hours already.
He's not completed his bargain yet, Father.
If he's going to be afraid, he'll have been afraid by this hour.
Father, I am not paying Mr. Todd for being afraid or not being afraid. I'm paying him to sleep in the yellow room and find out what it is that's caused the death of 4 people and turned 3 more insane during the last...
4 deaths of...
Oh, you knew perfectly well.
I knew nothing of the kind. The fellow who threw himself out of the window...
What does it matter, Father Doyle, how many people have died in this house? They're all free citizens over 21 years of age. Father Doyle, where are you going?
I think I'll go and see how Mr. Todd's faring.
You do nothing of the kind. Come away from that door, Father.
I don't know what it is you're doing, but I warn you. If something bad happens tonight, and there's any kind of inquiry, I shall be bound to say what I know, and to tell the authorities that knowing full well there's danger in the north wing of this house, you allowed a stranger to spend a night there.
I am allowed to do whatever I choose in my own house.
Only if it doesn't harm another person.
In this house, I have all the freedom I wish, and I...
You're not exercising freedom. It's license. Bribing that man with money.
Oh, for pity's sake, there's nothing there to harm him. It was all in the imagination, with every one of those people who stayed in the yellow room. All imagination.
Then if it's all imagination, what can Mr. Todd tell you then?
What he imagines. I wonder what he's doing now. Do atheists sleep well? I suppose they must. No consciences. At least no religious consciences. I suppose Mr. Todd's fast asleep.
There. Well, blasted draft over there, too.
That candle was the one by the bed.
I don't need it anyway. Doesn't feel drafty, I must admit.
And then the candle on the right of the door went out. And Ronald Todd's expression of slight surprise, tinged with amusement, suddenly vanished, to be replaced with a frown of discomfort, because...
Queer?
Very. As he reached the door to light the candle again, the little light on the left side of the doorway went out. Now there were only 4 candles burning out of the original 7.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
The yellow room in the glow of only 4 candles is a different kettle of fish altogether. Never a pleasant room, even in daylight. At night it is malevolent. Todd crosses now to relight the candle by the great bed. He does so, just as one of those he has made glow again by the door goes out.
For pity's sake. Drafts all over the very shop. What's wrong with this room?
Just as he's coming to light the right-hand door candle again, the 2 candles on the teak bookshelf go out simultaneously.
Well, the best thing I can do is forget the whole business and go to bed. Bastard.
The candle upon the mantel goes out, followed by the one on the bed, followed by the one on the right-hand side of the door, followed by the one... He's puzzled, yes, but not at all frightened. Intrigued, if anything. For a moment, all 7 candles glow again. And he stops laughing as 1, 2, 3, 4, the candles around the reading chair, the mantel, go out one after another. He begins relighting them, and both candles by the door go out, and then the one by the bed. For a moment, the room is lighted by only 2 candles. And then 3. And then 4. And then the first of the relighted ones goes out.
Huh?
And Ronald Todd realizes for the first time that there is more to this than meets the eye.
That bloody thing went out because something wet touched it. I heard it.
Suddenly, it's completely dark. All 7 candles are out.
Oh. Oh.
Certainly, Ronald Todd doesn't like the dark. It can't be called fear, for he's not afraid of anything. But where are the matches?
Where are the blasted matches? Spill them. Right. One lighted, that'll do. Well, if that goes out, I'll just light it again. Drafty old room.
And he gathers the remaining matches together. There are only 11 left.
Beautiful, really. Candle alone in the room. It's like the little night light Mum used to leave in my room when I was a kid. Because I was afraid. Oops. These husbands are shine with the pure, clear light, like a burning. I wonder what Mum would have made of all this. All right. I'll play your game. There's somebody here, isn't there? Somehow someone's making these candles go out, aren't they? Well, all right. Let's leave it dark for a while.
Deep, pitch, black, silent, strangely lonely. And then the silence and the darkness gets on Todd's nerves, and he fumbles and lights a match. At least, he tries to light. Must be a dead match, a spent match. Try another one.
Oh, I'll try another one. Sleep then. Must have picked up all the old ones. And I fiddled around on the floor for... what the... Jesus bids us shine with a pure, clear light, like a burning candle shining in the night. In this world of darkness, so we may shine. You... Yes. Bed. The blasted bed. Oh, no. Wait a minute. I must be right away. Wait a minute.
You'd be like this, I suppose, in the desert at night, or anywhere come to that in complete blackness. And now for Ronald Todd the nightmare begins. It's pitch black. He can't find the bed. He decides to return to his chair. The chair's gone.
It's the blasted chair. Well, all right, Mrs. Watts, you've won. This is silly. You built a trick room, a maze, mirrors or something. Come on, you. Ronnie, lad. Now, there's an ex-Boy Scout and that. Let's just get our bearings.
And in the blackness, like a blind man, he walks. Ah, yes, it is all right now. Someone has taken his hand.
Who's that? Who's this? Who are you? What? Who's this? Let go of my hand. Come on. Go. Let go. Who are you? I can't see. Let go of my hand. Who are you? Like a little candle, brave little light. Like a little candle burning in the night. In the world of darkness, I must shine like a little candle. You and mine.
I say you're a nosy old devil. Saving your reverence, of course. You always were a nosy old devil. You just cloak your nosiness in a vacation to save souls. Oh, I wondered who it was at the door 7:30 in the morning. Oh, those stairs.
All right. Shall you open the door now, Mrs. Watts?
All right, Father Gerald. Morning, Mr. Todd. Sleep well? Like some tea?
Let me have those, woman.
Well, I mean, we might be standing there and it's all together.
You in your small corner, and I in mine. All right, Mum. Name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Blessed is the fruit. I was saying it right. Stop it. Leave me alone. Let go of me. Stop it. I hate saying my prayers. I hate saying it. I hate it. I hate it. Stop it. Stop it.
Dear Father in heaven.
Mr. Ronald Todd was committed to a home for the hopelessly insane. Father Gerald Doyle visits him twice a week. The priest carries with him a feeling of guilt he can never be rid of. Mrs. Watts died last year without ever discovering the secret of the Yellow Room. What really took place that night, I have only been able to suggest. What remains is that Ronald Todd is mad and is likely to remain so. He's forever beyond midnight.
Just soak in Biotex. Just soak in Biotex. Just soak in Biotex.
If you have wondered how to get your washing really stain-free, understand this. Biotex removes the stains and dirt washing won't.
Just soak in Biotex.
Stains, grass stains, tiresome collar and cup stains, ingrained dirt, soil and grime. Out they all come, and you don't stir a finger.
Just soak in Biotex.
Biotex with natural enzymes is the pre-wash powder with the most enzymes to give you extra pre-wash power. Absolutely no rubbing, no color loss, no fabric wear. Use it for cottons, silks, woolens, synthetics. Use it to make new again. Soaking in Biotex removes the stains and dirt, but washing won't.
Just soak in Biotex.
Beyond Midnight is presented every Friday night at 9:30 by Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder. The program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.
Well, that's the show for tonight. I want to thank you all for listening. And remember, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/terror1970, or you can find me on Instagram at Radio Show Nerd, or on Twitter at Radio Show Nerd 1. And you can always leave me a comment, but be respectful. Again, this is Keith, aka the Radio Show Nerd, reminding you to subscribe. Please like the videos. Please share. Highly appreciate it. Signing off. Good night, everyone.